All right, let's talk drones. We're going to take to the skies and break down the art and really the science of creating those absolutely stunning cinematic drone shots. Let's get into it.
So you've seen those incredible sweeping aerials online or in the movies, and you think, yeah, I can do that. But then you get your own drone up in the air, and the result? Well, it feels a little less Hollywood, doesn't it? What is the secret sauce? What separates the jaw-dropping footage from the, just okay?
I mean, just look at the difference here. On the left, it's a perfectly fine shot. But on the right, that's a story. That's breathtaking. And believe me, the secret isn't a drone that costs more than a car. Nope, it's all about having a deliberate, thoughtful process. And that whole process really just boils down to three simple phases: plan, shoot, and polish. We're going to walk through every single one, giving you the key techniques you need to transform your footage from flat to absolutely fantastic. So let's kick things off with phase one, the plan. And honestly, this is where the magic really begins. I can't stress this enough. The most epic shots are almost always thought up long before the drone's propellers even start to spin. There's this great quote from the legendary aerial photographer Jan Arthus Bertrand. He said, "The earth is art. The photographer is only a witness." And that's exactly your job in the planning phase, to figure out the best possible way to witness and capture all that art from above. So your pre-flight checklist is pretty simple, but it is absolutely crucial. First, you find a really interesting location. Then, you scout that location for powerful ways to frame your shot. And finally, you plan for that perfect, beautiful light to bring it all to life. It's all about this mantra: imagine, plan, shoot. So how do you find these amazing spots? Well, you fly your drone from your couch. Seriously. Using apps like PhotoPills, you can just explore satellite maps and discover these compelling shapes, patterns, and lines that you would never, ever see from the ground. You're looking for things that just naturally create intrigue. And once you've found a cool spot, you can actually use built-in composition grids, like the rule of thirds we see here, to pre-visualize and frame up the perfect shot with incredible precision. You're basically directing the entire film before a single battery is even charged. It's a game changer. Okay, and finally, and listen, this part is non-negotiable for that cinematic quality, you have to plan for the light. That soft, warm, atmospheric light you get during the golden hour, just after sunrise and right before sunset, that will instantly make your footage look more dramatic and professional. The midday sun just creates harsh, flat light. Just avoid it. All right, the planning is done. Now it's time for phase two, the shot. This is where we get into the fun stuff, the real nitty-gritty of camera settings and flight techniques while we're actually in the air. Rule number one, the second your drone is airborne, is to take control. You have got to get out of auto mode. Mastering your camera's manual settings is probably the single biggest technical leap you can possibly make. Here's why you want to ditch auto. It kills consistency. In manual, you set your white balance once for consistent color. And while 24 frames per second is the cinema standard, a lot of pros actually shoot drone footage at 30 FPS because it just looks smoother. But the most important thing here is the 180-degree rule. Set your shutter speed to be double your frame rate. That creates the natural, subtle motion blur our eyes expect to see in a moving image. Okay, so with your settings all locked in, it's time to start thinking like an artist, like a filmmaker. Your flight path and your camera angle, they're not just about getting from point A to point B. They are about guiding the viewer's eye and telling a story. One of the most powerful tools you have from the air is symmetry. Look for it everywhere. Reflections in water are just a perfect example. They can literally double the impact of your scene and create this wonderfully balanced, super captivating image. Next up, look for leading lines. Things like roads, rivers, coastlines, think of them as nature's arrows. Flying along them doesn't just look cool, it physically draws the viewer into the frame and takes them on a journey. It adds this incredible depth and a real sense of narrative flow. And speaking of depth, here is a massive pro tip. Don't just fly over things, fly behind them. When you move the drone past something in the foreground, like a tree or a rock, you create what's called a parallax effect. This layering makes the world feel three-dimensional and so much more immersive than just a simple high-altitude shot. Okay, so you've planned, you've shot, and you've got some great clips on your memory card. But we're not done yet. Let's move to the final, crucial phase, the polish. This is where you sit down at your computer and turn good footage into a great film. Now, if you shoot in what's called a log profile, your raw footage is going to look flat and washed out. kind of like the image on the left. Don't panic, that's actually a good thing. It means the camera has preserved the maximum amount of information in the image. In post-production, you can then color grade it, pushing and pulling the colors to create a very specific mood and an emotional tone, like that vibrant final shot on the right. Another really powerful editing tool is speed ramping. This is where you smoothly change the speed of a clip. You can speed through a long, straight flight path and then slow down dramatically right as you reveal a stunning view. It adds so much rhythm and energy, and it keeps your viewer completely hooked. And don't forget these final touches. Software stabilization can iron out any of those tiny jitters your drone might have. Good sound design, adding the sound of wind or waves makes the whole scene feel alive. You can add those cinematic black bars to instantly change the vibe, and use noise reduction to clean up any grainy footage from those beautiful golden hour shots. So, we've covered planning, shooting, and polishing. We've talked about apps, settings, composition, effects, all of it. But what does it all really add up to? What's the one thing that ties it all together? Well, after giving a list of 49 different technical and creative tips, drone pilot Nicholas Nilsson revealed his final and most important one: storytelling. That's it. All of these techniques, every setting, every flight path, every editing choice, they're just tools. And their only purpose is to help you tell a more compelling story. Ultimately, this isn't about capturing pretty pictures. It's about creating an experience. You're using motion and this unique perspective to build a real emotional connection with the viewer, to show them the world in a way they've never seen it before, and to tell a story that a simple photograph just never could. So there you have it. You have the workflow and the key techniques the pros use. The tools are in your hands. The only question left is, what story are you going to tell?